Welcome back to another episode of the Downsizing Roadmap podcast with your hosts, Jody Rosko and Heather Fisher. We're talking about all things downsizing, from our own experiences with clients to guest experts. Let's make downsizing easier, one conversation at a time. Welcome to Downsizing Roadmap podcast. Today we're going to talk about how to interview a real estate agent who understands downsizing, because all real estate agents are different, and some of us have really been working in this field and know all the ins and outs and who to contact and have a great big list of people that can help, and some are just agents that focus on other things and might say, hey, yeah, I can do downsizing too, but it really is more of a specialty. So we're going to kind of dig into what that looks like today. I'm Jody Rosko.
I'm Heather Fisher. And we've got some great just things for you to think about and questions you can ask, and just what you should be looking for to make sure that this experience goes the way you want it to, and you have that support and someone that's looking out for your best interest and making this move easier than it can be without good help.
Yeah, I mean, all real estate agents are independent, and I think that's something people sometimes don't know. They have to be under a brokerage, and so we're under the brokerage of Keller Williams, but that doesn't mean that every agent in Keller Williams is the same as we are. And so I think sometimes I know I've talked to people and they're like, oh, that was another, Keller Williams agent. And we have some really amazing agents all across the country in our brokerage. And we know, if you need help finding, if you're selling your property, if you need help finding someone anywhere in the country, just reach out to us. So we have a really great network of people that we can help connect you to at downsizing-roadmap.com. But that doesn't mean that just because they're under that umbrella of the brokerage that we're all the same, because we are not. Everybody kind of creates their own business. We have the Rosko Group under the umbrella of the brokerage, and that's same for all the other brokerages too, not just Keller Williams. So don't be thinking just because they're from the same place that they're going to be the same.
Yeah, and I think worth pointing out is that there can be some really great agents, but their specialty or what they focus on might be a completely different niche that isn't this. And, so we're not saying other agents, can't get the job of selling a home done. There's agents that do that very well. But I think what we've found is there are a lot of extra hurdles that come around a downsizing move. And you just want to make sure you have someone that can support you through that process and take the stress out of it a bit.
Yeah, you want them to be a partner with you. You're kind of in it together. When we go and talk to people, we're in it as a team. And so we want to make sure that that's what you're getting to, not somebody who's just trying to sell the house, but somebody who's in it with you to figure out all the pieces of it. And when we go and talk to people, we always suggest, hey, let us come out even, early. If you're thinking about it in the next year, we'd like to talk to you.
Yeah.
Because we help with a lot of things that really aren't even the house to start out with, because those are the hurdles that are stopping you from getting to the end game, yeah. Right? And so so we work, together as a team to try to figure out what that plan, the roadmap, needs to be for you.
Yeah, timeline is so important in a downsizing move. Sometimes it's quick when there's a crisis, and that needs support and resources as well. And sometimes it's just a thought, and having someone like us out early to help you know at which stage you should be thinking about which pieces can really save you a lot of headaches, knowing that if you're going to do an estate sale, you really need to be planning months in advance to be able to do that and get on their calendar, or, knowing that you might be able to move first and sell the home empty to take the stress of showings off of your plate. There's just a lot of specific strategies around timeline and handling the stuff around the house that we can help with.
Absolutely. Yeah. So, I think that sometimes agents can rush it. Sometimes people feel like, oh my gosh, they're pushing me, too quickly or whatever that looks like. And so I think knowing that whole timeline and process of downsizing specifically, because it's a new chapter of your life. If you're downsizing, it's usually because there's a new chapter coming, right?
Yeah.
And we talk about all of that in our other podcasts about figuring out what that chapter is going to look like and all of that thing. But then there's like the logistics of actually making it happen once you've figured out what that next chapter is going to be. And so that's the part where your agent can really help you and have lots of contacts for things that you don't even maybe know that exist for people that don't, that you might need to have help you get this done.
Yeah, with the quick moving market that we've been in for the last couple of years, if you have someone out says, okay, great, let's sign here and put the sign in the yard. I mean, you could be sale pending within a couple of days, and then you only have that short time frame of the pending part of the transaction that you need to be completely out of the house, and knowing those right questions to ask to make sure you give yourself the time that you need, if that is part, of the plan that works, to have that time, because things might take you longer physically to pack and move and go through and just make those decisions. Yeah,
we have a statistic that the average homeowner over 65 has lived in their home for over 23 years. And we get people who have been in their homes 40 years, long time, which is plenty of time to accumulate all kinds of things. And moving, first of all, if that's you haven't moved, the moving process, you haven't been around that moving process in such a long time that I'm sure you don't remember anything of it, even if and it's probably different than it was, when you moved the last time. So having somebody be able to explain that to you is super important. But also, that's a lot of years to accumulate stuff. And that is what happens, is stuff gets accumulated. And so it's not the same as when somebody is, going from their apartment and moving up to their first house, or moving even from their first house to a bigger house because they had kids, and that is different. That's they're still in that accumulation phase of their life. This is like the decumulation or whatever that word would be, and that's different and harder. And so you need somebody who can understand that process and has people that can help you with that process if you need it.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've got some great questions we've noted here that you should ask if you're interviewing, a potential agent, and their answers can give you that sense of whether they'll be able to give you that support and resources that you need. So we could go through these questions. Yeah. Must ask questions. Number one, have you worked with downsizing clients before? And I think that's something, we can connect you with agents that their answer to that is yes. And then that you're getting someone that's already experienced working, in this demographic and with the challenges that come along with it. But if you're, interviewing someone that your neighbor used or your kids have the name of, make sure you're asking, have you worked with downsizing clients before? And then once they answer, can you walk me through what your process looks like for someone who is downsizing? And it is a different roadmap than a traditional sale because of all of the other moving parts needing to line up alongside of each other. Yeah, so asking if they've worked with downsizing clients before, don't let them just say, oh yeah, sure, yeah, I've done that. Hear their stories. Ask them, what that was. Tell me about one of your clients and how you helped them, in a similar situation that I'm in, or exactly what Heather said. Walk me through the process of downsizing, not just selling the house, but the downsizing part of selling the house, right? Yeah, absolutely.
So you don't want them to just be like, sure, yep, yeah, we did that, we do that. So you need a little bit more from them, stories, empathy, specifics of who it is that they have worked with, and you're looking for a consultative, like somebody who's going to consult with you around that process when they're talking about their process. Not somebody that is so sales driven. You want somebody who can walk this road with you and, get you there in the smoothest way possible.
Yeah, I think that ties into the next question. How do you handle situations where the client isn't ready to sell yet? And so that is, possible answers. Okay, well, call me when you're ready isn't really going to help you get from where you are to ready. So you want to be looking for someone that's like, yeah, that's no problem. I hear your timeline and we can make that happen. And here's, all of those resources we need to plug in to get you from here to there and get ready. And someone that's checking in and just nurturing through that process, not just waiting for you to call them when you've, gotten through all that overwhelm on your own.
Yeah, because the first step when you're thinking about downsizing is not selling the house. That's the very last step. And so when you're talking to somebody, a real estate agent, then when you ask them that, then the answer needs to be something else other than selling the house, because we have a lot of steps that we talk about and what how you can go through those steps, and so make sure that they have those steps too.
Yeah, absolutely. Next question: do you have relationships with estate sale companies, senior move managers, organizers? I would say elder law attorneys, lots of people that
Cleaning
they should
people. Yeah,
lots of people that you want to make sure that they have established relationships with, because you're going to need 2 or 3 of, the long list. Everybody needs a couple of them, and you want to have a resource for trusted professionals, not just the phone book, because that's hard. You're then having to spend so much time researching so many people.
Yeah. And there's people out there that we talk to clients all the time that they didn't even know existed. Like senior move managers are, a lot of people don't even know that that's a thing. And they can be so, so helpful, especially if, moving things is hard for you physically. They can be super helpful in that arena. They can help you figure out how your furniture is going to fit in your next place if your next place is smaller and you have bigger furniture. There's just so many people out there jobs out there that you might not know exist. So when people come and talk to us in the beginning, and we are definitely, talk to us early, we'll nurture you through the process. But when they talk to us in the beginning, we kind of get a grasp of what all their capabilities are, who they have to help them, what that all looks like. And then we can fit in the pieces of, hey, did you know this person exists that could help you with that? Or, whatever different resources that we have. And so a lot of times they'll be like, I didn't even know that was a thing.
Yeah. And to have that help makes the process so much easier and a relief.
And we have clients that do all of this themselves. We have clients that do this with their kids. We have clients that need all the help because they don't have any of those support. So it can be all different levels of things. So, but just knowing what's out there and what resources you can tap into, I think really helps ease some of the anxiety around it. I know every time we, have one of these consultations, at the end, they're like, oh my gosh, I feel so much better. And nothing has happened other than us talking to them and knowing what that path could look like. Yeah.
I think that is an ease for all of us in multiple situations.
Right.
When you know the plan, it's like, okay.
Yeah. I know what to do tomorrow.
Not
now.
As scary as I thought. We can do this.
Right.
I know what to do.
Still a lot of work. I'm not saying it's not going to be a lot of work, but it's manageable then in your mind.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So, question number 5, what would you do if a client was overwhelmed with the amount of stuff in their home? Almost everybody we talk to is overwhelmed with the amount of stuff in their home.
Everyone should ask this question because we all are. But yeah, there's nothing that makes us feel so sad as when someone takes way too much to their next home and they're just not living comfortably because they did not have help in getting their mindset right about letting things go. So this is such a key piece, is figuring out how to, handle the stuff, get it to places where people can use it and get life out of it. Try to avoid the landfills and the dumpsters, but not just take it all because it's not handled. And then your next phase is just exhausting because you're living amongst too much stuff in a potentially smaller space.
Right. I think that, the overwhelm is, it just happens for everybody pretty much right from the get-go, because when you look around and see all the things that are in a big house and think, I have to move this to a small house, it's very hard to envision, like, in the beginning, like, what am I going to take? What am I not? It all comes together. Don't worry. It all will come together. If you're at the beginning of this process, it's fine. It will all come together. But in the beginning, it feels like, oh my gosh, like, how would I even, know what to do with, all of these things? And so we find that actually that's one of the things that we are doing this for. That's why we're talking about this. Why we have the podcast, why we do our classes, is because what will happen is people will be overwhelmed long enough that they come into something that's a crisis, and then they're trying to make all those decisions from that crisis place because they put it off and put it off and put it off. So what we're saying is, talk to us, and if you're not in our area, we'll find you somebody somewhere else in the country that can help with that overwhelm, either by just talking to you about your mindset and giving you a plan that you can do it yourself, or having resources that can help you. There are people who will come and help you sort your things, like if that's something that you really need, or even help you to just get started in sorting your things. Because once you get that ball rolling, the whole mindset changes and it becomes easier and easier.
Yeah. Okay, question 6. How do you help with staging or prepping a home that's been lived in for decades?
Yep, we have a lot of those. Yeah. So I think that we can do all of those things. So we can take pictures of it, the house, as it is. Honestly, that's probably not my number one choice on that, just because a lot of times that puts a lot of stress on the homeowner to try to figure out what are they going to take, how are they going to use the things that are left to stage. All of those things are that's stressful. So a lot of times we will end up selling the house without furniture. We also have stagers who can put some furniture into the house. When you're selling a house that's empty, it's got to be super clean because there's really nothing else to look at. Yeah. Sometimes we'll say, hey, we need to do some paint. We need to do some flooring. It's a house by house basis, but our main goal all the time is what will be, the most smooth transition for the homeowner, and how can we make that and still, sell the house for the highest price possible in the quickest amount of time.
Yeah. I think you really just want to find someone that can understand that a checklist of tasks might be harder for you in this phase of life than handing the same checklist to, a 20 or 30-year-old making a similar move, that's saying, oh, just, paint this room and clear out this. Some of those tasks can just be overwhelming. So like Jody said, sometimes just knowing that you have permission to move first and, sell the house vacant can be so freeing to know you don't have to deal with that. We've seen that plenty of times. Where
we had that today.
We did have that today, and just the shoulders dropping when that stress was taken off of, oh, I can just work on what I need to and move and get comfortable, and then you'll handle it. Sometimes really is the best. There's options for virtual staging or physical staging that can replace that, but someone that's not an agent that's not putting too much expectations, it's a team thing. We're going to work with our homeowners to present their home in the best light, but just understanding what your abilities are physically and energy level wise to accomplish things, and making sure that fits what will work.
And they have the resources to help if that's something that really does need to happen. Can they, help you with that? Can they help manage your resources? Make appointments, hook you up with the right people that can just get the work done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So, okay. What
number 7?
What number are we on?
Number 7. What's your approach if family members are involved or have different opinions? I would say our approach is, the homeowners are our clients, and whoever they want involved in the process, open arms to make sure the family is involved, or sometimes there's an adult kid that's kind of helping coordinate, and always going back to who our client is, but whoever is helping them that they want included in that picture, you would hope would be welcomed.
Yeah, for sure. We definitely welcome anybody who's willing to help, and we want to share, what our thought process is with them so that everybody's on the same page. And we have other podcasts where we talk about dealing with, family members when they're not on the same page. And so there is some work to be done sometimes ahead of time through that, because, sometimes the kids are like, Mom, don't sell our, childhood home, or, whatever that looks like. But we really try hard to make sure that we include everybody who might be a decision maker, even on a smaller level, right? Like, because once everybody understands what the goal is and what the process is, then they can really work better together. And, most kids just want to help their parents, and they don't really know exactly how. So, letting them know exactly what it is that they need, or everybody getting clear about what the path looks like, helps them really, because then they're like, okay, I can help, and this is specifically how I can help, and I can do that next Saturday. Like, I know what I'm supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I think there's relief found sometimes too, back to what you were saying about people don't even know some of the resources exist. We find that a lot with the adult kids when we're like, oh, you don't have to travel here from, out of state to handle this. We have someone. And it's like, oh, you do?
Right.
That would make everyone's life so much easier. And so having everybody involved eases some of that tension when people are like, okay, this is what I can do, but we can have, a resource do this piece or that piece, and that's much easier.
For sure. Yeah. So, so we welcome all the family members. So that's what we hope the answer is when you're talking to somebody else. Can you give me an example? Number 8 is, can you give me an example of a time you helped a client through a difficult emotional transition? And I will say, stepping back, real estate in general is helping people with emotional transitions, because there are all kinds of reasons that people move. Downsizing is just one of them, but a lot of them are emotional reasons. Maybe somebody's passed away, maybe they're getting a divorce, maybe they're having a baby. There's happy reasons, not happy reasons, but this job has got a lot of psychology in it. But in terms of downsizing, gosh, we have so many stories that we could share if somebody asked us that question. We had a lady that her dad ended up having to go to rehab, and then ended up having to stay, so he couldn't go back to his house. And she was taking care of her own husband, who was injured, and her kids, and pulled in 1,000 directions. And so we were able to sell her dad's house quickly and get them the money that they needed to take care of Dad, while he was, he needed that money out of the house. It was just so much pressure on her, all of the pieces. And we were able to just do that quickly and help her get the things out of the house with our resources. And gosh, she was so appreciative. And that is my favorite part, honestly, of doing this, is knowing that you really, really helped somebody, like, who was just in a place that was unbearable for them. And, it's still hard. Her dad is still, there's still things that are happening in her life, but that house on top of it and needing the money out of the house is such an extra pressure that we were able to help her with. And I loved that. But we have so many stories that we can.
Yeah.
share.
I think, those hugs at the closing table and then, checking in with our people and
Later, yeah.
just knowing, there are people for life. Like we love
Yes.
catching up with them and stopping by to see them. And just having that relationship is so much beyond just selling the house. But knowing where they landed next and making sure they're good there and just saying hi.
Yeah. So if you're interviewing an agent, they should be able to give you stories.
Yeah, easily.
Right.
And you should see that emotion. As
And
they're
their heart
talking
for
about.
it, honestly. That they love it, that they want to share, want to care about what happens there.
Yeah. Yeah. Stories more than stats sometimes.
Yes, for sure.
So number 9, do you offer services or consultations before someone is ready to list?
So you all know we do because we talk about it all the time.
Yes. But I think that is back to the same thing we said before. If someone is just putting up a wall and saying, oh yeah, well, call me when you're ready, I'll come out then and put the sign in the yard, that might not be your person. You might need someone that's willing to come out early and just hear what your situation is, cement down that plan and that strategy, the roadmap, and then, touch base with you and check on you to see how the progress is going or help coordinate that to get you to ready.
Yeah, because we have people that we've gone out and talked to and kind of made that roadmap, made that plan. And then, 3 months later, they're telling us it's a year or 2 years, whatever that is. But 3 months later, they're like, hey, who was that donation guy? They'll call and, whatever resource or whatever trouble they're having at the moment of moving forward, whatever obstacle they're finding, they call us and say, who can help me with this obstacle? Or who do you have? And we usually have somebody that can. And so even if you don't know who it is you're asking for, call us and say, this is my problem.
Yes.
Right? And we will be able to, likely be able to figure out who it is that can help you with that problem.
Yeah.
So if there's an obstacle, the agent should be able to hook you up with somebody, even if you don't know who that person is.
Yeah, absolutely. So question 10, it's actually kind of just a summary of all the other questions, but the question, what makes your approach different for someone downsizing versus a typical seller? So I think if you've asked all of the 9 questions before, you should have a clear, can you answer for them what sounded like their approach was different and geared towards downsizing. And if they didn't get that message conveyed to you, that may not be the right person.
Yep. Yeah. So reading between the lines, what to pay attention to when they're talking. Are they talking more than listening? Right? This is really about your journey and what that should look like. And, they need to be listening to what your goals are, what your path is, how you want that to happen, and figuring out their best way to ease you through that, right? If they're doing all the talking, they're selling themselves, they're, whatever, then maybe not. And I do talk when I'm at the, but first I listen. We sit first down and have a whole conversation where I'm asking all the questions and listening to what that is. And then we'll talk and say, this is what we think the plan should look like and all of that.
Yeah, just a good conversation versus just
a sales pitch.
Yeah, sales pitch. That's the word I needed. Do they slow down to meet your pace? So I mean, pace can be different for everybody, but if you need time, you should get it. And if you need to go through the information a little slower, that's okay. The right person will give you all the time you need. I think some of the times we meet with clients were there longer than we expected, and we always say that's fine. It's exactly what they needed.
Yeah.
At that moment.
This kind of reminds me of like when you go to the doctors, and some doctors are like really like, what's wrong? Okay, really quick.
Yeah.
And then other doctors sit there and say, okay, tell me what's going on. And they just make you feel like you're the only person there. Those are rare doctors. I had one of those. He just retired. I'm super, super sad about it. But that's the difference. Like, do you feel like you've been heard? Did you feel like you had the time to express what you needed to? Did you feel connected to them, and feel really great about the fact that they can help you when they leave?
Yeah. Yeah. So the next thing to pay attention to, are they curious about your goals and not just your property? We've talked about this earlier in the episode, but all of the timeline and strategy is so important in this transition. So making sure that they're not just ready to sell your home quickly if you're not ready for that yet, and making sure that they've made sure that their plan for your house matches your plan for your next step.
Right. And they should ask you what your next chapter is and what's going on and what your thought process is and how would you envision that working the best. And if it went this certain way, does that sound good? And, they should ask you all of those questions. What's hard for you? What obstacles are you seeing? They should be taking the time to ask you all those curious questions about what it is that you're trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
And then along with timeline and all of that. So body language in a person, tone, what their tone is. Are they warm and respectful and patient? Do you feel like that's somebody who can kind of hold your hand through it? Because I think that, just different agents, whether they're good or not good, just have different personalities. Some of really great agents just may not have a personality that clicks with you. Yeah. And so you just want to make sure that you're feeling that they have your best interests at heart and that they're working towards the goals that you have set out and they've listened and asked enough questions to know what those are.
Yeah. So some red flags that you might notice. Warning signs that there just may not be that right agent. Let's get it on the market and see what happens without, a plan and emotional prep. Dismissing your emotional concerns about your stuff and just saying it's just stuff. It is, but there's stories around it. We get it.
We had a class where there's always a thrower outer and a keeper, right? At the couples, there's always one and the other. And we had a class where the lady was the thrower outer and the man was the keeper. And we came over to talk to them and just say hi or whatever. And he was like, could you just tell her to stop calling it junk? And and it's funny, but I do think that some people do have that thought process around it, like we're just going to get rid of all this junk and then we'll get the house sold, and
Yeah.
And we know that you aren't emotionally attached to all of it, but it is definitely not junk, right?
Right.
And so there are memories that are in there that need to be sifted through, and you need to figure out what those legacy things are that you want to keep and all of that. But we understand that it's not junk. And I'll say that also, which I probably should have said back earlier, but don't be afraid to have an agent come out. The house does not have to be ready, right? I mean, it can be all full of all the things, and a good agent should be able to see past all of that and figure out how to help you with that. And because we do get people that are like, "Oh, you can't come right now.
We're not ready."
Yeah, and I'm like, "Well, that's why we're coming, because you're not ready, right?" And so there's no judgment. There's just no judgment. You let us come and make the plan and help you get forward, because I find those people are the ones that are the most stuck, the ones that don't want people to come over and see their mess or whatnot, because they don't know what to do about it, or it wouldn't still be like that, and they need the help for it, and so we're here to help without any judgment at all. So just call us. Don't get ready. Just call.
Yeah, absolutely. Call us. And if you're in a different part of the country, we will ask all these questions for you and connect you with that great person. But let's move on to, some great things that if you do see, could be the right person for you. Free planning consultations months before you're ready to sell, connections to vendors and organizers and, estate sales, elder law attorneys, willingness to talk to your adult children or have joint meetings with whoever you want at that meeting, a custom timeline with flexible stages that give you clear direction on whether you're in the sorting, the prepping, the listing, the moving, and what to do in each of those stages specifically. And then, resources, checklists or guides, workshops and things that you can just go and get a better understanding in a slower pace to know what's coming next and to get your mindset in the right spot to make this happen.
Yep. So just final takeaways about it. You're not being picky, right? You're being proactive. You're finding the right fit for you, right? There's lots of great agents. Some of them will fit you, some of them will not. And so you need to make sure that that it's the right fit for you.
Yeah, and there's so many emotional and logistical pieces to a downsizing move. You just want that key person that can pull it all together in a way that you connect with.
Yep. So if you want more information, reach out to us at downsizing-roadmap.com. We have lots of info on there, and
we will see you next time.
Yeah, we'll talk to you next time.
All right. Thank you. Thanks for joining us on the Downsizing Roadmap podcast. If you found this episode helpful, be sure to subscribe, leave us a review, and share it with someone who might need a little downsizing inspiration. Have questions or ideas for future episodes? Reach out to us on our website, www.downsizing-roadmap.com. Until next time, let's keep simplifying and moving forward.